Hi everyone, today let's talk about Tesla earnings. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Tesla absolutely destroyed earnings, jumping 10% on a profit beat. That was the benefit of environmental credits, much wider than expectations. Revenue did come in just shy, but the earnings were very, very good. And the stock rose after falling a lot on their Tesla day. You can see it's down just about 0.5% from that 10%, so it's still up 9.5%. Obviously, Elon is very happy with this, earning 72 cents versus 58 cents. Revenues, like we said, missed just by a little, but they did increase 8% from the same quarter a year ago, so still showing growth. But these credits continue to benefit the automaker, $739 million in regulatory credit revenue, which the other automakers are required to obtain each year for the production of zero-emission vehicles, which is what Tesla does. Auto revenues increasing 2% to $20 billion from $19.6 billion. Energy storage revenues soared 52%. This continues to be the fastest growing part of the business, energy generation and storage. And non-warranty repairs jumped 29%. Again, starting to see that widening out of the revenue model. The majority of the money comes from automotive revenues, but we're starting to see these other sectors widen out, and really they need to if Tesla is going to continue to grow and justify its current valuation, which is still quite high when it comes to automakers. They sold 16,000 Cybertrucks in third quarter, and total deliveries 462,890, and they produced about 7,000 more than that. And then deliveries beat by 6%, but fell just shy of estimates. And overall, macroeconomic conditions are still making it harder for the company to grow, which is partly why this beat is so significant. In terms of competition, they still face a ton of competition from BYD, NIO, all of these other Chinese automakers, but you also have Ford and General Motors in there starting to sell more electric vehicles, which again points to the reason why this needs to be a technology company. They have the robot, they have the robo-taxi, as well as AI and self-driving. They need all of these things to come together if Tesla is going to increase in value. Moving over to fear and greed, big step down to a 63 from a 70. Obviously, markets cratered today, and we're starting to see that breakdown here. So that's the first break in this move. Greed on momentum, neutral on strength, breadth stepping down to greed. So the metrics are definitely moving back towards that neutral area. Put call ratio still hovering, volatility spiking a little bit off the SMA, but bonds still in the same region, extreme greed for both of those. Moving over to the earnings calendar, you can see the Tesla beat on the bottom line, missed on the top. Coca-Cola beating on both with a soft guidance. T-Mobile beating on both. IBM missed on the top line, beat on the bottom. They're falling a little bit, not super great. Services now beating on both. Pretty good beat there on the bottom line as well. Boeing, dumpster fire. It was expected to be a dumpster fire, and arguably it was worse than expectations, so potentially interesting there. And then General Dynamics missed on the bottom line, beat on the top. And then Hilton, watching that for the travel sector, beat on the bottom line, missed on the top. And then for tomorrow, you do have Honeywell, SP Global, Union Pacific, UPS, always interesting. Northrop Grumman, NASDAQ, Inc., Southwest Airlines, again, another travel company, like to keep a pulse on that sector. And then American Airlines to wrap up the Thursday. Looking at the economic calendar just for a moment, existing home sales missed pretty substantially. 20-year bond auction coming in about 0.5% higher, even a little bit more than 0.5% there. Yields continuing to stay quite high. And then for the Thursday, we do get a little bit of economic data as well as initial jobless claims, still hovering fairly high at 243,000 for the expectation. S&P Global U.S. Manufacturing, 47.5 expectation. Services PMI, 55. New home sales, want to see that do a little bit better, especially because we had existing home sales not do as well. And then for the Friday, we do have core and headline durable goods as well as the Michigan data. Moving over to Max Pain, we did see the underlying get a little bit below Max Pain, which is at 580, current price 578. So we saw a little bit of a step down here today. And you can see all the numbers now up and through the Tuesday session of next week are slightly positive from current price. We'll see how much that holds up. The Friday session, only about 1/3% higher from here, which is about $2. And then for 8 days from now, down 1.3%, very concerning. And then 14 days from now, about 6.5% lower, waiting to see how much of an effect that has on markets. But for right now, looks slightly bullish for the next couple trading days. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see we did finally get that big breakdown through this structure here. Hit that 21 EMA, hit VWAP, caught a little bit of a bounce from there. Ended up down just short of 1%, momentum bearish, RSI bearish, volume ramping there. Now we're going to see if this zone in here holds or not. 21 EMA is 576.09, VWAP in that same area, 574.78. This breakdown is fairly significant, and it does look a little bit sharper than some of these others. I would expect it to get at least to the 50 on RSI. Right now it's at a 55.76, so at least one more down day. See how it plays in tomorrow's session. Could find some support at this previous high, which is what it touched here today. That's in the 574.13 area. And then looking at the short-term charts here, you can see that initial breakdown of the level, 579.78, came right to my next level, 574.71, which is the same high that we just talked about, touched that level, caught a little bit of a bounce, momentum moving up a little bit, RSI moving up a little bit. Some volume coming in on the rally. I would expect a lower high setup, and then we'll see what happens. We did get below all the EMAs and SMAs on the hourly chart, 200 SMA sitting there as resistance at 579.42. But after hours, getting a little bit of a bump there from the Tesla move. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see that massive move down, eclipsed all of these levels that we talked about, got into bearish conditions here on the 4-hour chart. Your ATR resistance is now at 586.98, so that's all the way just barely above these previous highs here, so you're in bearish conditions, which makes sense. That's why I would expect a little bit of a rally up, a retest, and then a continuation lower. Big volume on the selling candle, makes sense, but catching a little bit of a bounce from that lowest ATR band. Right now that is sitting at 576.62. So that is your current support. We did find a little bit of support in there. And then above that, you have the 89 EMA holding support at 577.16. Touched that level as well. Didn't quite get to the 144. This is where we found support last time. If it's going to do it, it's probably going to do it here. Otherwise, this is probably going to trickle lower down to that 144, which is all the way down at 573. And then moving over to the NASDAQ, very similar thesis, except the fact that it was much weaker on the day, 1.53% down. Broke this first level there at the trend here, which is what I was watching around 491.17. Took out the 21, took out VWAP. That was at 489.40. The close was 488.36, so we did close below it. Next, you have the highly traded zone, 482.74. Interesting zone in there, right in this consolidation. And then you got for the 55 below that, which is more realistically where this is probably going, at least in the short term. That takes you all the way down to 476.74. Again, after hours, we're getting a little bit of a swing up. And then looking at the shorter time frames here on the hourly, you can see we hit the levels, took out this level here, took off all my positions, and then we continued lower right to the next one. Hit the 486.84 level, overthrew it pretty substantially. Huge volume on the day, especially on that last candle. Got a little bit of a rally into the after hours. Again, I would expect a retest of this trend, retest of the 421 level, start to hit some of these levels, and then see another continuation sell-off. This is structurally broken now. We have a clear lower low. Now we're going to see a lower high in my expectation, and then we'll start to see this kind of trickle lower. But for right now, seems like we're getting a little bit of a rally up. See if this follows through into the morning session. Moving over to the Tasty charts here on the 4-hour for the NASDAQ, you can see that big move down, hit the 144 EMA. That was at 486.36. Hit the lowest ATR band, so that would have been your price target on this chart as well, at 485.85, and then we caught a bit of a bounce. Ended up closing around that 488.36 level, and now you can see we're catching a little bit of a bounce up into the 490.32 area. Would like to see this rally about another $2 or so into this kind of mid zone, and then start to see it sell off again. Upper ATR bands starting to trend lower, lowest ATR bands finding a little bit of support, but again, would expect this to roll down. Momentum bearish, volume bearish, everything looks bearish here, especially after the start of this bigger breakdown. Would expect some more falling after this move. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, pretty much the same thesis, down 0.91, got much lower than that, and then found support at the trend, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Would expect this to continue lower. Current support to 18.13. Found support there today. Back below 21, back below VWAP, same as everything else. And it is flat after hours. And then looking at the Dow, 0.97 to the downside, momentum bearish, RSI bearish, big ramp on volume, hit the trend, hit the 21 at 525.15. The close was 525.16, so we closed right at that level. If it gaps through it and falls, that's going to be bearish, obviously. And then your support is going to be 418.38. At this point, I would expect it to go a little bit lower into that zone. Below that, you got the 55 all the way at 414.57, and then similarly here on the Russell, 55 is sitting at 216.42. Moving over to the Mag 7, we did reverse that entire candle from yesterday. We thought we might see a little bit of continuation there, back up to 283. Did not get that level, pulled all the way down to support at 273.41. Found a little bit of support there, momentum back to bearish. RSI broke down, retest, broke down, volume coming in. 55 EMA is your next support, 268.95. It is catching a bounce after hours with the Tesla move, up about $4, which is pretty substantial. Looking at it on the 12-hour chart, you can see that consolidation for a long period, hit the support on the big down candle. And then with that move here, we're back into the middle of the range, so that could be interesting in tomorrow's session. I don't think it's going to hold up markets, but the Tesla move is fairly decent. Moving over to the SPX divided by the M2 money supply. I don't talk about this usually during the week, but I did see a touch here, a very important level. 27.25 was my level. The low of day was 27.24, so we touched it by 1/100th. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Interesting to find support there. We'll see if it ends up holding up. Trend support is below it at 27.12. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple falling 2.16%, hit the level at 230.28, hit 21, hit VWAP, found some bounce, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. 230.28 is the level. If it breaks, I think it's going to push through here down to the 55 at 225.50. Level here is 224.36. Doesn't mean it's going to all happen at once. We could get some sideways consolidation at support before it happens, but I do think it will happen, especially with the break of the trend here. And then Microsoft, actually one of the better ones on the day, was only down 0.68 after the very strong push we saw Tuesday. Buyers coming in on Microsoft. Still couldn't get above the level 2 at 428.88. Tested the support, so this is a breakout retest. If it gets the continuation higher tomorrow, maybe Microsoft has some more in it. So this is a bullish thesis now on Microsoft. Found support at the trend. If we get the continuation up, should push back to that 429 level. Moving over to Meta and Tesla here, you can see we did gap to the 21 EMA on Meta, falling 3.15%. Big fall, just like everything else. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish, huge volume. 564.51 is the level. Waiting to see if that breaks. Technically, we closed below it, back above it after hours. 55 sitting all the way down at 546.23, and then Tesla, same thing, fell to the level 214, closed below it. And then you can see that earnings here, massive push up to 238.61 right here at VWAP above the 21 EMA. Huge move. Let's look at it on the 12-hour. You can see that huge move, hit the support, huge bounce, 55 EMA right in there. This could be a change in structure, or at least give it some sideways action on Tesla. It had looked terrible, was looking to fall some more, and then we got a good catalyst here. So Tesla looking good. Wouldn't short this. Probably has a little bit more in it, especially after the strong earnings. We'll see what they put out in the forward guide on the earnings call, but this is a good start. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet. Amazon cratering, broke the level here. This was the trend line we were watching. You can see that kind of wedging pattern, broke that here, big break. 144 EMA support at 183.44. See if that ends up holding or not. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Current support for me, 181.41. I would expect it to fall a little bit more. That's about $3 lower. And then looking at Alphabet, interesting structure here. We've been watching this for a long time. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder potentially. This right shoulder is taking a long time. We have not broken out quite yet. Momentum is back to bearish. RSI is back to bearish. But realistically, this hasn't gone anywhere. We did not close below the low from this consolidation. We're still in that same trading range. Did get back below the 21 and VWAP, but we've been chopping on that for a while. Your current support is that 55 EMA 163.28. That level needs to hold, and then you got the 200 just below it at 162.38. Honestly, a pretty good performance, down 1.4% considering the way that the rest of markets looked today. Moving over to discretionaries and staples, clearly a risk off market today. 0.2 to the downside on staples, really hung in there quite well at the level 81.85, down slightly after hours. But look at discretionaries, down 1.5%. Hit the level, did basically exactly what we thought it was going to do. Broke the level yesterday, fell even more to the next level, 193.81. Next trend support is down here around 191.80, and then the 55 EMA, just like everything else, sitting at 190.63. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Moving over to oil and gas and transports. Even oil and gas ended up falling 0.91 today. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. I got stopped out of this position, and it did continue to fall. Got all the way down to a low of 131.97, much lower than I would have guessed here on today's session. So this looks bearish again. I guess this was a bear flag. We got the breakdown, looking for more continuation there. So being patient again on oil. Want to see some structure. Right now we don't have any. Looks like it's going to fall some more. Similarly on transports, continue to fall. Broke through the level. Next support is 69.29. Moving over to Breadth. Breadth continues to fall. We did get back above the level here yesterday, and then we sold off more down to 48.38. This is the same area that we were at back from the beginning of October. My guess is we're going to go lower here soon. Same on 50-day, basically in the same region, close below the level, 62.25. Touch the 144 EMA, momentum bearish, RSI still bearish. I still think this is going to go to that 52.81 level. Then we'll see what happens from there. If you extend this trend out, that starts to give you some support in here around 54.83. We'll see if that ends up holding, but realistically, I think this is going to go lower into this area here. Either way, everything still looks a little bit bearish. Moving over to the dollar just continues this meteoric rise, absolutely massive. Another 0.35 right to the level, 104.41. Technically, it's above it. Technically, it has about 47 minutes left before the close of the session. Momentum stepping back to bullish. It's already super overbought at 71.36. Just continues to be an absolutely colossal move here on the dollar. And now markets are starting to react to that a little bit more strongly here today. We'll see how this continues to play out. Your next resistance would be all the way up at 105.28. And this is back into the zones we were in here in mid-April and June here. So it's been a very long time since we've been in this zone, and it is recouping all of those losses very, very quickly. You can see it here on the short time frames. We had one slight pullback here, and then it's been straight up every single day. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK did my favorite setup. You can see the breakdown, retest 21, breakdown, continuation to lower low. So does not look great. Looks like it's going to continue lower. Might find support at 95.92. Otherwise, 95.61 is the level. Everything looks bearish here on the indicators. Even looks like a little bit of a left shoulder, head, right shoulder now. Looks like it's going to fall some more. And then TLT fell a little bit more, but did better on the day, 0.27, falling after hours. It is super extended to the downside, but again, I just think this is going to find some support eventually. Similar to the dollar, had a huge run up. Inverse style here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Again, you can see that same setup. This is part of why I like it so much. You can see the breakdown, retest 21, breakdown. This was more dramatic than I would have thought that it was going to be. But now we're back into the lows from here in July. And now we're going to see if this holds up or not. Right now, it looks like it might not. Moving over to volatility, bit of a spike up, hit the 20 level, positive on the day, 0.57. Momentum swinging back to bullish, RSI still below the SMA, but looks like it might break through there. At least push to it and then test it, which gives you about another day or two. And then you can see your next resistance above the 20 level, if we did continue higher, would be up around 21.36. And it does look like this is going to hold a higher low and then push up, at least to this next level here around 22.50. That's where we've stopped the last two times. Moving over to my accounts, I pretty much took off all of my positions immediately on the open. I felt like markets were going to break down. We started to break some of the supports. We ended up holding support briefly, and then we ended up going much lower on the day. So I took a very slight loss. You can see down to 135.820. I think that was about $300 somewhere in there. I did put on some puts for 2 days from now. Caught a little bit of a rally. If we rally up aggressive and then hit that resistance and start to sell, I'm going to take these off. You can see they are very conservative here at 481 and 482 for about $2 credit. So your actual net buy price would be about 479. So plenty of protection here in the next 2 days. Doesn't mean I'm just going to blindly hold these if markets continue to crater. I do think they're going to go lower, but it doesn't mean that we can't catch small bounces here and there. And that's really what I'm trying to play. So very slightly bullish into the open, not really much longer than that. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of Tesla earnings. Is it going to hold up markets, or how much lower do you think we're going to go? Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.